Imagine being told you're an embarrassment to your family, that your dreams are hobbies going nowhere. Now imagine that same family finding out on live TV that you're actually America's youngest self-made billionaire. This is my story of quiet genius, public humiliation, and the ultimate unexpected reveal that left everyone speechless. Get ready for a Christmas miracle and a massive mic drop. The word embarrassment became my shadow when I was 14. That Christmas, I dared to ask for a specialized graphics card instead of the latest designer jeans. "She's just going through a phase," my mother, Vivian, explained to the relatives, her voice dripping with the patronizing sweetness reserved for discussing a child's temporary madness. "All this computer nonsense will pass when she discovers boys and makeup." 15 years later, that phase had become the family's most enduring source of social discomfort. My brother, Julian, was a titan of finance, an investment banker, scaling the corporate ladder with the precision of a Swiss watch. I, on the other hand, was Elara, the anomaly, the one who required careful, hushed explanations at every gathering, the brilliant mind that just couldn't quite translate into what they called respectability. The pattern was etched early. Valedictorian, Julian made varsity football. Full scholarship to Caltech, Julian got into Stanford. Graduated summa cum laude with dual degrees in AI and robotics, the family toasted Julian's first internship at Morgan Stanley. Each of my academic achievements was politely acknowledged, then swiftly eclipsed by Julian's conventional, comprehensible triumphs. My groundbreaking research papers were interesting, but Julian's football trophies gleamed on the mantelpiece. My trajectory after Caltech defied their neatly ordered world. While Julian was dazzling Wall Street, I retreated to our parents' basement. "Needs time for projects," I'd mumbled. They envisioned video games. I was surrounded by custom-built servers, quantum processors, and circuits shimmering with unheard-of potential. "She's always been different," Mom would sigh to neighbors, carefully choosing her words. "Very bright, but not exactly practical. She'll figure things out, eventually." The subtext was a siren blaring for everyone in our affluent suburban circle. Elara is smart, but socially inept, a genius who can't even hold down a proper job. Julian, at 32, was their golden son. Harvard MBA, corner office, a picture-perfect wife named Chloe from a suitable East Coast family, a house in the right neighborhood. This was the life they had envisioned for both of us. I, at 29, was the ongoing question mark, the source of polite concern, still figuring things out in my computer-related hobbies. My temporary workspace in the basement had evolved into a state-of-the-art research facility. My initial curiosity about quantum mechanics had blossomed into groundbreaking applications for computational processing. But try explaining quantum entanglement to relatives who considered a smart TV advanced technology. It was futile. "She's very dedicated to her research," Dad, Richard, would tell colleagues, making my activities sound almost legitimate, though he had no clue what that research actually entailed or why it might matter. This Christmas was a particularly grand affair. The house buzzed with these successful members of our extended family. Uncle Simon, a real estate mogul. Aunt Felicity, owner of the city's top PR firm. Cousin Leo, a hotshot corporate lawyer. These were people who spoke in metrics everyone understood. Revenue, market share, deal size. This was the language of legitimate success. "Julian just closed a $300 million tech acquisition," Dad boasted to Uncle Simon, as I helped Mom arrange artisan cheeses in the kitchen. Through the doorway, I watched Julian accept their fawning congratulations, radiating the effortless confidence of the perpetually validated. The Julian appreciation session lasted 20 minutes. Detailed questions about deal structures, regulatory hurdles, strategic implications. This was the language of legitimate success. "And what about Elara?" Aunt Felicity asked, her voice imbued with that careful, almost sympathetic tone reserved for discussing family members who hadn't quite launched. Dad's pause was barely a blink, but I felt it. "Still working with computers?" He managed the familiar vague phrase, "doing some sort of technical consulting, very good with that sort of thing. That sort of thing, his diplomatic evasion, sparing him the impossible task of explaining my unconventional, multi-billion-dollar tech ventures. Is she seeing anyone? Aunt Felicity pressed, following the predictable script. Very focused on her work, Mom replied, the family code for single and increasingly likely to stay that way. The unspoken message hung heavy. Elara chose her computer hobby over finding a husband, and now she's approaching 30 with no prospects for either professional respectability or personal fulfillment. In the living room, I gravitated to my usual spot, the periphery. Julian reigned supreme by the fireplace, his wife Chloe beside him, discussing their upcoming safari in Tanzania. Their 4-year-old, a prodigy in bespoke educational toys, played at their feet. Julian's latest bonus was simply extraordinary, Chloe chirped, a masterclass in demonstrating conventional achievement. Private schools, investment properties, influential social circles. This was the life my parents had envisioned for both of us. Elara, why don't you tell everyone about your computer work? Mom prompted during a lull, her tone encouraging but wary, like coaxing a shy child. It's mostly technical stuff, I said, my practiced vagueness like a shield. Quantum processing applications, advanced algorithms, AI infrastructure, pretty boring unless you're into that kind of thing. Julian chuckled, a sound laced with just enough condescension to underscore the professional chasm between us. Elara's always been more comfortable with machines than people, Different strengths. A chorus of understanding. I was the quirky tech support, brilliant in my niche, but clearly unsuited for the real world of high-stakes finance and social climbing. That's wonderful you found something you enjoy, Aunt Felicity said, her tone akin to praising a child's elaborate Lego castle. It's so important to have hobbies that keep you busy, even if they don't lead to traditional careers. Her words perfectly distilled their collective perception that my work was a harmless, fulfilling pastime, but ultimately a dead end for an adult. The evening wound down. Julian and Chloe received extravagant gifts, designer watches, rare wines, exclusive memberships. My gifts were practical, specialized software licenses, advanced robotics textbooks. Looks very complex, Dad mused, over the quantum computing textbook I'd given him, a familiar, polite dismissal. As relatives don coats, cousin Serena, recently laid off from her marketing job despite glowing reviews, approached me. It must be nice to have Julian as a brother, she sighed, a hint of envy, someone successful who can open doors. Julian laughed, a dismissive hand wave. Oh, I don't think Elara's interested in the kind of help I could provide. She's more comfortable doing her own thing, even if it means staying at entry level forever. His words hung heavy, laden with years of frustration at my refusal to conform. Then Serena, fueled with just enough holiday cheer to be dangerously honest, squared her shoulders. Actually, she declared, her voice cutting through the polite hum. Elara, she announced, her voice a cruel whip, you're becoming an embarrassment to this family. You're almost 30, still single, still playing with computers like a teenager, and you refuse to accept help from people who have actually succeeded in the real world. The silence that followed was suffocating. Marcus nodded slowly, a look of relief on his face. Finally, someone said it, he murmured. Mom looked comfortable, but offered no contradiction. Dad stared at his hands. The silence of the other relatives was deafening. You had potential, Serena continued, relentless. Good grades, a smart family, every advantage. But instead of building something meaningful, you've wasted 15 years on a hobby that's going nowhere. And now you're too old to start over properly. The accumulated weight of their disappointment pressed down on me. This was it. The honest, brutal assessment they'd always been too polite to voice directly. I understand, I said quietly, my voice calm, almost serene, a stark contrast to the emotional maelstrom in the room. My acceptance seemed to deflate some of Serena's righteous anger. Marcus looked relieved. Mom started clearing plates, eager to restore normalcy. But before the moment could pass, Dad's phone rang, a distinctive, urgent tone.
He glanced at the screen, an apologetic expression for interrupting, but the name made him freeze. "It's Malcolm Croft from Forbes," he announced to Mom, his voice a mix of pride and obligation. Malcolm was Dad's most prestigious media contact, a business journalist who'd interviewed him twice. "Richard, sorry to call on Christmas." Malcolm's voice boomed from the speaker, audible across the silent room, "but I have to verify something for a story. Is your daughter really Elara Vance, the E. Vance that Forbes just named as the youngest self-made billionaire?" The question hit the room like a physical shockwave. The grandfather clock in the hall seemed to stop. Dad's face cycled through disbelief, confusion, terror. "I'm sorry, what?" Dad whispered, utterly lost. Elara Vance, 29, founder and CEO of Quantum Nexus.